Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello to you and welcome back to the channel where today it is again time to talk about a brand new model from McLaren. This seems like it's happening quite frequently, but they've just introduced the name for the world's first Hyper GT. It's going to be called the McLaren Speedtail. Now I know their naming structure is incredibly confusing, so today I'd like to explain what the Speedtail is, how it fits into the Ultimate series, and how McLaren's names in general work. There have been some iconic ones along the way, and I think the Speedtail is set to be that in the future. So let's talk about what we know about the upcoming Speedtail. Up to this point, we've had a series of teasers and hints as to what the next member of McLaren's Ultimate series is going to be. So let's try and piece these together bit by bit and see what we know so far about their future hypercar. So the latest release from the supercar outfit in Woking, England is a new video that confirms the final production name of Speedtail. Along with that, it gives us an insight into what this car is actually going to be. Now it started life under the code name BP23. That stands for Bespoke Project 2 3-seater. And as we can see here, it's all about aerodynamics. It's about a car that is going to be the fastest production McLaren ever. Quicker than the legendary and iconic McLaren F1 that reached a peak speed of 243 miles per hour. So the name is Speedtail. It connects to Longtail, their track-focused vehicles, but they're calling it the Ultimate Hyper GT. And we're going to see a lot more when it's revealed in October 2018. Back to basics, what exactly is this new car, the McLaren Speedtail? I think to give the story some context, we should rewind for a moment back into McLaren's history. It's a brand that's synonymous with motorsport, with Formula 1, with the McLaren F1, with their success in the 1995 24 Hours of Le Mans. But the McLaren Automotive division responsible for their road supercars and the new Speedtail was actually only launched in its current guise in 2010. The following year, 2011, they introduced their first road-going supercar, the MP4 12C. It immediately went head-to-head with the likes of Ferrari and Lamborghini, but you have to remember, that was only 7 years ago. The following year, they launched the Ultimate series with the hybrid McLaren P1. This was a new game-changing level. The fact that such a young company could create a vehicle like that was fairly breathtaking. Since then, the P1 spawned the P1 GTR for the racetrack, and more recently, the ultimate track car for the road, the McLaren Senna. But prior to the introduction of the 12C, McLaren had only worked on the F1 from the racing division, and then working with Mercedes-Benz on the SLR project. The new automotive company is based out of MTC, the McLaren Technology Centre in Woking, England, just 20 miles or so from London. But this was a new era, and I think a very exciting era. The ideas for the car that we now know will be called the Speedtail started floating around almost as soon as the new McLaren brand was born. When they were releasing the 12C, then the P1, and then the second member of the Super Series, the 650S, customers were already coming forwards to ask if they could one day, conceivably, rebuild a 3-seater, a tribute to the McLaren F1. Now the F1 holds such legendary status. When it was introduced in the early 90s, it came in at a price point of its own, costing about £650,000, but it was untouched by anything else in terms of performance. At the time, it set a speed record of 231 miles per hour. The GTR version spawned, and in 1995 it won the race at Le Mans, but later on it was driven again by Andy Wallace at Volkswagen's test track in Aire-Lessienne and set a top average speed of 240.1 miles per hour. They take the average going in both directions, but it also reached a peak of 243 miles per hour. Now McLaren is saying that the new car is going to be quicker than that. That record was unseated by the Bugatti Veyron and then more recently by the Koenigsegg Agera RS. I don't think McLaren is saying that the Speedtail will go up to the speeds of 280 or the likes, but it will be the fastest production McLaren ever. What do we actually know about this car? Well, to be honest, not all that much. Along with the video, McLaren have released a few tidbits of information that we can combine together with what we've already seen to build a picture for what this car is going to be like. What we do know, and I think the most important thing, is the fact that it will be a 3-seater. That actually has the potential to mean it will be the fastest car in the world that can seat more than 2 occupants. If you think about the Bugatti and the Koenigsegg, they are both one driver with 1 passenger next to them. In the Speedtail, just like the F1, it is a central seating position, as we've actually seen in a photo of a mule before now. So ignore the bodywork, it looks like a 720S. What this is about is testing the tub and the seating configuration, with the at the time test driver Chris Goodwin taking the wheel, but flanked either side by 2 additional seats that sit slightly behind the driver, just like in the F1. The biggest objective for McLaren to do that is the legislation to do with the airbags, safety impacts, that side of things, but what it means is you could go on a road trip and take 2 people with you. I don't know what it will be like in terms of luggage capacity at this stage, but we have seen some implications towards what the body is about, and it's all streamlined. It's to do with cutting through the air. I don't know if that means there's going to be a section that extends to somehow control the wind over the back, but I imagine it is a totally different creation to the likes of the McLaren Senna, which is a car that is built completely for downforce on the racetrack. They've said that the powertrain is going to be a petrol-electric hybrid. That makes it McLaren's 2nd hybrid model after the P1 that then spawned the P1 GTR. In the case of those cars, they used the 3.8-litre twin-turbocharged V8 mated with a Formula 1 style KERS system, which gave you instant torque and power for quick getaway and earlier pull out of corners. In the P1, it had a total of 916 horsepower. In the P1 GTR, that was built exclusively for the track and later converted to road by Lanzante, it has 1,000 horsepower. I think we can assume that the Speedtail will have a touch more, but no details on that front at this stage. Now, they built a total of 375 P1s and a further, I think, about 56 P1 GTRs, but there are going to be a strict limit of 106 Speedtails. The reason for 106? That is the number of F1s that were built of all variations. The prototypes, the production cars, the GTRs, the GT Longtails, all of the different models, 106 in total. It goes without saying that those customers have already been found. The Speedtails are all spoken for at a price tag of £1.6 million plus taxes. Of course, in the UK, add 20% to that and you're just shy of £2 million, but quite a different price bracket from the other Ultimate Series car, the Senna, starting at £750,000. Now, of course, with these things, I think when they're that limited, you can expect that the cars will be taken to MSO, McLaren Special Operations, to personalise and make each one of them bespoke and unique. Perhaps we'll see a few in matching specifications and configurations to their similarly numbered F1s, but no doubt they'll be heading around the world to customers all over. Not too much to say about the looks, other than clearly it will be based around that curved windscreen that must go around the drivers. I expect if you see the teaser, the way the shape looked, it's going to have quite a long tail to streamline it through the air, but with very clean and flat surfaces, completely different to the McLaren Senna, which is all about aero, downforce, aggressive shapes, gurney flaps, a huge wing, an extended front splitter. So these two cars will meet very different purposes. The Senna is designed and built to be the ultimate on the racetrack. This, the Speedtail, is designed to be the ultimate Hyper GT, and I'm very excited to see how that segment unfolds. I think we live in an exciting time in general with the introduction of some truly spectacular and breathtaking pieces of engineering and machinery. This car is no doubt going to blow our brains when it's launched upon the world, but we'll have to wait a little bit longer until we get more information about what exactly it's going to be. Let's talk about the name for the car, because I think McLaren have a tendency to confuse people with their naming structure. Now, that's partly because they're a company in their infancy, they're finding their own feet, but also the audience is trying to understand where the different models fit into the lineup. So let me give you a quick overview and how this all breaks down. At the very top, they have the Ultimate Series. This is their flagship halo cars, the hypercars, the likes of the P1 and the Speedtail. Next down you have the Super Series. They're all out-and-out supercars, the 675LT, the 720S for example. Then you have the Sports Series. Now this is the entry-level McLaren, but still very much a supercar. So the newly introduced 600LT, the 570 GT, or the 540C for example. Now the thing you notice that's in common with the cars from the Super Series and the Sports Series is that they're all alphanumeric designations that combine the amount of horsepower with an appended letter at the end, or two letters at the end, that designate the purpose. So for example, the 720S has 720 horsepower and S for sports. The 540C, 540 horsepower, C for comfort. You have the 570 GT, where GT represents Grand Tourer, so more luxurious in terms of specification, more storage space for luggage on a road trip. And then you have LT, like the 600LT and the 675LT, which means long tail. Long tail being a historical name from McLaren from the F1 that represented the track version. So not necessarily physically longer, maybe slightly with the aero for the front splitter and the rear diffuser, but much more about the ethos than the actual physical length of the car. Now when it comes to the Ultimate Series, there have only been a handful of models in total. I think we could say the F1 really started this, and then the P1 came after it. Both very iconic names, F1, P1. The next member of the family, the Senna, named after the late Ayrton Senna, paying tribute to him, given the car's purpose to go to the racetrack, where he was very successful in McLaren vehicles in Formula 1 Grand Prix. Now the latest car, the Speedtail, I don't necessarily believe that Speedtail is a name that's been previously used by McLaren. I might be wrong about that. I think it's more a connection to long tail, but representing the fact that it's about out-and-out speed. If it doesn't have a bit of a tail and go very fast, then this is not a good naming choice, but let's hope that's exactly what it does. From what we've seen, there might be an extended rear end that swoops to keep it more streamlined. Maybe it does do something crazy. Who knows? We'll find out in due course. Another thing that McLaren do that gets confusing is sometimes announcing the code names, like for example the fact that Speedtail has been known as BP23. To many people, BP23 doesn't exactly mean a whole lot. BP1, Bespoke Project 1, became the McLaren X1 based on the 12C. BP23, Bespoke Project 2, originally from MSO, has now become this three-seater that's been named the Speedtail. So the Ultimate Series will now be Senna and Speedtail. The Super Series will be 720S and then maybe a Spider in future, fingers crossed. And then the Super Series is currently 540C, 570S, 570 GT and 600LT. Maybe there'll be a Spider of that to come as well. So that is an overview of the lineup at the moment and the names of them and how this makes some sense. On a personal note, I quite like the name Speedtail. It will take some getting used to, I know, for many, and inside the McLaren community we thought that it might be called the F1X as a direct tribute, but of course the new direction is to give the Ultimate Series cars full names, and presumably that's where they'll go in the future, even with the replacement or upgrade to the P1 that they've now announced will come as part of the Track 2025 programme. McLaren have a lot of cars on the horizon and their naming structure is going to get even more confusing, I'm sure, but I'll do my best to update you and inform you as and when the time comes with each model that gets released in due course. Anyway, for now guys, that's all I think we know about the Speedtail. I'll let you know more as soon as it's revealed in October and we have some access hopefully to film with one in the future as well. For now, I'll share plenty more with you about my incoming Senna, so stay tuned for all of that, but that's it for this one. Thank you very much as always for watching guys, and I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers!